We're gonna do core training for basketball, and we're gonna start right now. So if you've got back problems, you've got hip issues, even to a point you've got ankle issues, you feel slow on the court, you lack coordination, a lot of this stuff is related back to that core strength. And so when we're training for basketball, we've got to think about crossing over dudes, being extremely agile, being able to react and coordinate very rapidly. There's that missing link, okay? And that missing link is going to be our trunk. So if we can train our trunk effectively for basketball, now we can coordinate our legs with our hand-eye coordination, which is going to lead to better speed, better agility, and ultimately better positions on the court. So we've got to train basketball core strength specific to the sport using global movements, isolation movements, different movements that are going to pair with rotation and linear direction. So we've got to approach it with that in mind. We're training that missing link to improve your coordination and enhance your overall agility, which is going to lead to more of those hoops. Okay, so the first exercise I love using for basketball players is going to be an overhead march with a hip lock. So when we're holding overhead, okay, we're gonna be focusing on dynamic trunk control, and when we get into that hip flexion, there's just gonna be a little bit more focus on controlling your hip in through your gut. When you can do that, it's gonna transfer really well. This is the thing about this is a global core movement, a global trunk exercise. It's gonna help with that missing link, with that coordination. So we're here, up, just a little tilt, up, tilt, tilt, little pause, and hold. And I like doing a lot of stuff overhead with basketball players because their defensive positions are usually here. Okay, and so we can do that 4 sets and just roll straight through. You might do 20 to 30 meters or a minute to a minute and a half straight. And as we work through the sets, your players are going to start to feel their gut all through here, down into their hip. And that's going to help them when they get on the court and they're trying to be on the defense, they're trying to react quickly and have better agility. All right, so that second exercise that we're going to use is going to be a crossbody, slower V up, okay? Oh, and so what I want to see is we're going to get hooked up to an immovable object with a power elastic. So go to powerelastics.com, you can pick this up. This is our mobility band. And what this is gonna do, this is gonna be a little bit more isolation, and I wanna see a little bit slower eccentric, and I wanna see some hip movement in with that trunk, right? So we're gonna be holding this just over our chest a little bit, okay? Here, come up to the opposite knee. So right elbow to left knee, left elbow to right knee, and that's going to totally light everything up as you're rotating. And what that's going to do is it's going to help transfer to a little bit more dynamic movement. So one of the things that you can do is with the overhead walking hip lock, you can pair that with the isolation movement here while you're laying on your back, okay? So we've got that linear movement a little bit here. It rotates slightly at the top. Then when you pair that with the overhead walking hip lock, you're gonna be able to feel your gut a little bit more on that hip lock, which is gonna help with that coordination. It's gonna help with that dynamic trunk control when you're out on the court because you're gonna have a little bit better mind-muscle connection. Okay, so this is gonna be a true isolation movement, and I want to see again a little bit of hip work with those abs. So I like getting on a decline bench, putting a plate on my toes so I have a little bit of flexion in my toes. I want to make sure that I don't lose my mic here. And what I want to do is I want to grab here on the bench, oh yeah, and try to push my belly button down into the bench and hold the plate on my shins and lengthen my knees at the bottom. Lengthen the knees, back up, push the belly button down into the bench. 2 more. So for basketball players, this is a great movement, and one of the things that you can do is start without the plate. Start without the plate, push the belly button into the bench, and then as you get stronger, add that plate to your shins, and that's gonna increase the load, which in turn is gonna make your abs a little bit stronger. Okay, so another movement where you're gonna start to use your hips a little bit. What I wanna see is a little bit slower work early, and then as you start to fatigue, you get a little bit more rapid, a little bit higher speed. So again, we like to think about global training with the trunk, then isolation-based training with the trunk, and now we're gonna get into some slower speeds and some higher speeds. So we can get here, okay, come in, back, all right? So we can go, let's say 5 to 7 reps here, and just holding that plank position. And then as we start to fatigue a little bit, we go, and you can go timed for 30 seconds, really focusing on what your hips and abs and trying to hold that foundation, hold that trunk nice and tight, push the belly button to the ceiling now. Oh, and finish that off. 3 sets, okay? 7 to 10, nice and slow. And then 30 seconds, rapid mountain climbers. You can utilize these furniture sliders. You can use a towel on a linoleum floor, holding that plank position to improve that overall trunk stability. Okay, before we get into that last key exercise, don't forget to like, subscribe, smash that notification bell, share this with everybody else who needs some more core work. Now, one of those key factors, one of those movements that I love, and I love training global trunk work. So if we're here in an athletic stance, I call these hammer rotations. This is something I stole directly from Olympic champ, my throws coach, Dr. Anatoly Bondarchuk. We used to do a lot of rotational work with bands, with plates, with a whole bunch of different apparatus. Okay, so this is the XPT crossover. You can get this at xpt.com, but I put on a rope handle here. I wanna get in a little bit of an athletic position, drive from that glute and rotate across, and have just a little bit of a slower eccentric. And keep those arms longer. And you'll really, really feel this as you decelerate right here on the opposite side, boom, and then come back, okay? So what I wanna do, 17 reps each side. This is gonna help with any rotational movement that you have on the court. It's gonna help with your agility. It's gonna strengthen that missing link so you can rotate and move a little bit more agile, which is gonna help put your opponents in precarious positions so you can dominate out on the court. If you need help with strength training for basketball, click on the link down below. You can pick up our basketball strength training program, and you can even do an add-on of our ab Slaughterfest workout. It's 4 days a week. It's gonna help you add on a little bit extra core work for every single workout. If you want more content around basketball-based training, click on this card right here. Until next time, guys, peace.